about the XFL. Tell us about that acquisition, the strategy behind it. What did that look like last year? So talk us through.
The XFL, first of all, I've been an athlete all my life, and the XFL acquisition is one of my most exciting acquisitions to date. So the XFL, the second version of the XFL that happened in 2020, I was saddened because I wasn't a part of it. And I have a great relationship with Vince McMahon. And when he actually launched it, I was like, darn, I really had wanted to be. And I was very, very pleased with the product they attempted to put on this field, because they had a 5-week run. And then unfortunately, COVID really came and shut them down. And as a live event startup, they didn't have the financial metrics to support it. But those 5 weeks and the ethos and what they were able to capture and the innovation, the technology they were able to put on the field was very, very exciting to me. So when I found out that the company had been going through bankruptcy, I pulled together the team. We started to do some analysis. I called Dwayne Johnson up, my partner, and I said, I have a crazy idea. And he says, he actually tells the story as well. And he's like, I love crazy. Tell me. I've called him numerous times with that. I have the crazy idea. And it's taken us on great journeys. And then I shared with him the XFL and the full scope of what we could do with that incredible property in our hands. Not only for Dwayne personally, not only is the XFL something he could see himself in, because he did attempt to go to the NFL, wasn't successful, went up to the CFL, wasn't successful. If the XFL had been there, he would have gone. That would have been his next step. We always say this career was his plan B, but he did really well with plan B. But for us, we were looking at an opportunity to be the stewards of football in a 360 sort of viewpoint, multidimensionally, looking at everything that surrounds the football and taking responsibility for that. So how are the athletes experiencing it? How are the fans? How are our partners? How are our sponsors? How are our production partners? And we have a very specific point of view on how the storytelling and the interaction and how the XFL should be experienced and not watched. So we have, in fact, just came back this Monday from a full intensive in New York City as far as our XFL and our XFL rollout. So we're very, very excited. I would say historically, if you look at everything I've done in my last 28 some years has led to this moment when it comes to the XFL. It demands all of my expertise in all of the different areas to be able to do what I want to do with this property. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, look, I find it really fascinating, this particular acquisition. And it's quite a complex play. I'd love to. Can we delve a little bit more on that?
Sure, absolutely. You have first of all, you have the complexity of the game of football in the United States, which you need to deliver at a level that's undeniable. So right there, those expectations and executions are its own sort of company in itself. And then what we're doing is we're wrapping around it. We're taking control of the entire universe that lives within football. And we're wrapping around it various elements of entertainment and media and expression and live events, so that not only do you have the game and dynamic play, but you have football being a catalyst to other experiences. And in that, you start to garner great complexity. And that's all about execution. So I think one of the great things that I recognize, especially in partnership with Dwayne and in partnership with Redbird Capital, who are other partners in ownership of the XFL, is that we clearly bring a skill set that doesn't exist in major league sports. And that is where I see incredible opportunity. And that's where we have been building out the business plan to really take advantage of that expertise. So you've got to have an ace team right for the game, for the players, for how they're experiencing life. And then you have to overlay that with an additional set of skills to take care of every other aspect that touches the fans and touches your partners and touches how the game is being experienced. How is it being experienced with gaming? How is it being experienced on your phone? So, the challenge is great, but it's been an incredible experience. I love the relationships. I love the people we have on board, the quality. And I'm really looking forward to 2023.
Yeah, wow. Look, I have to ask one more question selfishly, just out of curiosity, before we move over to $7. To take on like an acquisition like that and an industry like that, what kind of obsession is required to really understand it? Because it's like a totally different world. You need to immerse yourself, right? To even,
Right.
yeah, so I'm just be curious, kind of, do you have a process there? Is there anything you could talk us through as you move between these different verticals and industries? And yeah.
I love your question, by the way. That's an excellent question. So I love that you asked, do you have to have an obsession? You for the scope and size and the enormity of what the XFL is, it's a very loud project, right? It's very public facing, and we're not even launched. But there's football in itself. You absolutely have to have an obsession. You have to have the fundamental tenets of entrepreneurism, of drive, create something new. There's not a model, but I'm going to go ahead and create a model. So though you have to have comfort in that skill set so that you can then look at the property fearlessly and be comfortable saying, okay, these are the directions and these are the elements we're going to add to football, which will not affect the institutionalization of the game, because that's the other thing. This is not a property that you can just change dramatically how the game is played. You have to honor that, but you still need to bring the elements of today, right? And today and tomorrow. So the amount of brain burn, I like to say, is great. And it doesn't have to be all my brain. But where that 40% that only I can deliver or Dwayne can deliver, we have to be 100% focused on that. So the rest of the tenets of the game and a fantastic game and football operations and player personnel situations, you've got to have the best of the best in those positions so that there's nothing there but excellence. And then that allows you to focus in the areas, and you have to be able to bridge it over. I have fantastic partners, and I have an incredible group of individuals who believe in how I see the game and how Dwayne sees the game, and is open to a point of view of female leadership. So I'm the chairwoman of the XFL. So my philosophies and my leadership fall over the entire sport of football. Male dominated sport. So, that position is a major position, but it also allows me to bring incredible value to the game. So yes, when you say, do you have to be obsessed? You absolutely have to be obsessed, and that's okay.
So there you have it. Dany Garcia, chairwoman of the XFL, talking about the XFL. So if you thought that somehow this is like a small thing and like this isn't a big project, this is a massive project. And I would say in that interview, which was about 40 or 50 minutes long, they talked a lot about, it's talked about a fashion brand first, then a lot about the XFL, and then just some other kind of things. But that was a real big part of that interview, was the XFL and just how big and how a unique vision they're bringing to this XFL thing. So for those who think that somehow like this is going to be, this is somebody who is a home run hitter. If you listen to the full podcast, all the successful things that they had, from tequila to, Zoa Energy, and which we've got a can back there, Drink Your Zoe, and all these different properties that they worked on, the movies, the television stuff, and people are like, oh, well, what experience do they have in football? Well, clearly, if you heard that interview, they didn't have an experience in entertainment, and they figured that out as well, too. I didn't have any experience in the CFL. I just jumped in and figured it out, and I think we have a pretty successful CFL News Hub site now. Very excited about the numbers over the last month. Things are really starting to crank. And we're getting a lot of good feedback from that site as well. So that's what you have to do. So I just think that the XFL is in great hands, and I'm so interested to find out what this vision is. We've heard Mike Mitchell talk about this division where she talked about 360 kind of year-round content and entertainment. They talk about the live aspect of it. There's all these different elements that they're planning and rolled out. I think they have the battle plan in place, and now it's time to execute. Will we hear anything by the end of the year? Probably not. We did hear about, the USFL stuff, but the USFL is coming soon. The XFL is not. So I would assume cities and merch and logos and those things would take place in January, potentially maybe even the end of February to get that interest in those football fans from the NFL to start gaining in some interest in the USFL. But you have to remember, we're a long ways away. And even in my experience with the XFL and the CFL, like I said at the beginning of the show, draft, interest is high. Who are the players, when the game starts. Even in the NFL, it's the same trajectory. So right now we're in this 20%er where we're super nerds, so we're interested in every aspect of these leagues as they come to fruition. So that's why you're not seeing a lot of stuff, because it's just not there yet. It's not worth putting out yet, especially with Christmas around the bend. So there you heard it from Dany Garcia. Leave us a message in the comments. Let us know what you think about the chairwoman's vision of the XFL.